out. We've swapped some sides, so Alistair starting off the Casio band away as well. That much is still the same.
So Giants, just as a note, you can see the armband that Giants are wearing, the black armband, out of respect and solidarity. Of course, the events in Barcelona earlier in this week. And as we head into a game 3, Giants will be fully focused now. 1 game away from the LCS. Last draft, see if they can find the same playstyle being on a different side now.
Well, clearly Ninjas in Pyjamas have decided they do not want to give the NAR away, just not have it in the game. So that'll be one of the adaptations that we see. It's back over to Giants for their last ban of this first phase. So far, it's been 2 supports aimed at Spraddle. Here on patch 7.16, it seems to be the flavor thus far. And we continue with the Orianna being banned away.
So Ori banned has been banned in all 3 games away from Nagne. Giants putting the focus on that Orianna. Now NIP have the final ban. Will it be the Kalista that we've seen people having that high priority on? Giants did get it in the last game and it looked good. We've got the Zac still available.
Didn't see him last time around.
But this is likely to mean that Talia is going to be there if NIP want to take it for Nagne, which could be the matchup that they want.
Yeah, Maokai banned away, so Gillis will have to find himself a
new
friend in the jungle. Now, what do Giants pick first? Do they maybe... Is it even feasible they would grab the Talia away in a first pick? Is that even valuable?
I don't think so. I don't think so, because I think Jizuki will be confident enough playing up against it. Talia, I imagine, will be last pick of phase 1 for NIP. Giants here have the option for the Kalista. The Zac is there as well for Gilius.
Last second pickup, it's the Jarvan.
Okay, so Jarvan, a flex pick. You can obviously put it in the jungle, which would facilitate the engage out of Gilius, give him good early game pathing. Could also be the top lane matchup for Ruin into Profit, depending on what gets...
Elise was open, though.
Yeah?
Kalista and then Elise. So now Ninjas have definitely got some early game power for Shook to try and snowball this team ahead. We'll see if maybe they can do that.
So now the Caitlyn, likely to be a pick. 4 mini true packs he could look towards. Tristana would be another one. Caitlyn, of course, had nerfs on 7.16 that reduced some of her mid-game damage. Tristana doesn't suffer for that, but still has been such a big pick for mini true packs.
So he takes it, no bones about that one in the second rotation. And now are they going to round out their bottom lane on this, or are they going to take a jungler and confirm where that Jarvan's going?
Will they go the Janna route, looking for some of that disengage potential? Will they go towards the Rakan that is not banned for once in this series? Or will they look for a jungler for Gilius? Because if they do lock Gragas here, a Talia pick out of NIP would give Giants the ability to ban some of the particularly difficult matchups for Jarvan. And that's not a Talia, but it will push the lane as hard as NIP possibly can. Okay,
so it looks like NIP have kind of doubled down here on some of their early game potential. Kalista will still be able to contest a lot of objectives and do damage in the later stages of the game. But if you're NIP right now, Stress, what do you round this comp out with? Do you go all in on the early and try to snowball?
They may pick up the Rumble as a team fighting presence. I think if they don't, they will be lacking in later game AP, or not necessarily later game, but just in general. You've got the Elise as one source of AP, but you need a little bit more on top of that. Otherwise, Giants could just build such a tanky front line to deny any kind of AD champions coming through.
All right, well, Giants say see you later, Alligator. They do not want to give Profit a chance to try and get that push on early up in the top lane. NIP, it's back over to them for their last ban of this game. 10 seconds still remaining on the clock.
So NIP, where else will they go with this? The Echo is a matchup that we've seen picked by Jizuki quite a lot. The Kassadin was in the last game, but the Blitzcrank has been banned actually by both teams so far in this series. Neither support ran it in the regular split. That's the interesting thing. So it's because it is pretty good in into that Kalista if you can actually land the hook.
Giants really gunning for Profit, though, once again. So not only did they ban the Renekton, but the Rumble is gone as well. So I'm curious to see what he ends up doing up in the top side against this Jarvan. You should see that maybe being locked in last, to be honest.
Jax
filled out with support here.
Jax is a matchup that will scale, but would be full AD. NIP opting for disengage here, so Jax would also give them a split push option. That is the other half of that. Camille not banned for once. May find herself picked up here, but look, Giants looking at support. Lulu would give them good shielding later on in the game, decent push alongside the Caitlyn, although obviously both had their push nerfed at different patches throughout this season. Mid lane pickup now, what are we looking for? Mid game, an early game focus would be more beneficial since you're going later game with the Caitlyn. Oh, but that's way late game with team fighting. This is a pick I've been expecting people to pick up a little in some of the matchups. Now, a lot of the mid lane matchups have been nerfed, but this is not one of them. That's an interesting one.
Well,
so
you said Nagne is going to be able to push all day. I think that might be your answer to that.
Well, the thing is, Victor can stop the push coming when you've got that upgraded Hex core, so that you have the laser attachment for his E that explodes. Now, the thing about it is, it's later on into the game that'll come. I wonder whether the Lucian will have already had the impact there. Get this Elise working in the middle lane with the Lucian. A lot of kill threat on a Victor. Elise force the flash early and re-gank him, but that's likely to be one area Shook might go. The other would be top lane. Camille locked in, as mentioned, for Profit. If you can get the Camille rolling, maybe you can control the top side of the map too.
Yeah, and it's not something Profit's actually gotten his hands on, but remember, this is the first game, or the first series he'll be playing on patch 7.16 here on the stage in Berlin. But if Profit can get ahead enough early on, push Ruin back in, get himself a few kills, we've seen what he can output. We've asked the question and had our answer twice. Is it enough for him to carry? No. But he's got one more chance to make that happen. And NIP have doubled down on the early game pressure. We'll see where Shook goes. Up top, in mid. Probably just hold the line down on the bottom side, but Nico the Pico, a lot of question marks that we have to see if they are answered as he shakes hands with Andre going off the stage and Giants Gaming on the cusp of pushing themselves straight forward into that winner's match. One series to decide the next team in the European LCS.
NIP in this matchup have a lot more of a solid early game focus. Giants have some pretty catastrophic late game damage when they get there with a Victor and a Caitlyn. It'll be up to Ruin, Gilius, and Jack Troll to kind of hold the line for Giants, as you put it. A lot of earlier on in the matchup, and then NIP, it's on them to kind of take control of the early game. I want to see how this game plays out. Interesting one. Only one game separates these teams from next week's fate. A win for Giants puts them a series away from the LCS up against Schalke. Whereas a win for NIP would hold them on in this series, take them to a 2-1, maybe start building towards the always difficult reverse sweep. That's the only option for them in this series now.
Yeah, well, they need to be able to survive. You do not want to get swept in the promotion tournament coming down from the LCS. And for Giants Gaming, the adaptability that they have shown has been impressive. A slow, crushing game one. A similar start in game two. Ended up turning into one massive, quickly rolling snowball. And now they've gone all in on that later game. Starting things off, no trickery, a few pings flying, but NIP know that Giants Gaming have this side of the jungle covered, so instead, they're not going to even opt to go too far deep into enemy territory. Just one ward down for either team on either side. Typical stock standard.
I'm making the big prediction here, Pyra. Are you
Go
ready?
for it.
Are you ready?
Tell me, what is it?
Sprattel's going to win the race. Unless there's a
race.
significant laning advantage the Giants pick up. Because Sprattel's running gold runes. Jack Troll is not. Jack
I mean, that's
Troll's
kind of an
try and take
unfair
trades.
advantage, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, maybe it is a little unfair.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good prediction. I just feel like it's a bit stacked.
The other side of that, though, is Mini Trupax and Jack Troll. You expect them to have a decent amount of laning presence in that bottom lane. You see, they're already pushed up in the bottom lane, trying to get as heavy a push on to the lane early as possible. See damage traded onto Sprattel quite effectively this early on. Of course, Lulu, with the passive, adds those additional auto attacks on the basic attacks.
Yeah, it's a pokey lane.
Or at least the on-hit that comes through.
But here's the thing, if NIP continue to kind of struggle in this because this matchup is going to see them pushed back over and over again, does that mean that we need to see Shook starting to maybe abandon his plans in the mid and the top and try to push down and hold the line in bottom? It seems like the answer would be no to that.
Yeah, I hope not. My hope would be that Shook can get one of the other lanes snowballing effectively, and then that's what they can use to build from, because while Mini Trupax and Jack Troll have looked good, I don't think they have dominated Hikyu and Sprattel to the point where this is an emergency that, you know, Hikyu can't hold on his own. So I feel like Shook should still be looking on the top half of the map for that.
Well, so far, Profit's been able to shove in Ruins, kick things off, small CS advantage, but of course, they both have a fair amount of sustain with the Corrupting Potions built. Prophet going down to place a ward in the jungle to make sure he can't get ganked out by Gilius, as he signals that they do not see the jungler in that side of the map.
On the opposite side, Gilius looking for vision control of his own, trying to get in on the bottom side jungle. Gilius not appearing on his Gromp actually means that NIP are a little wary of where the Gragas could be. And you could see Gilius just check the mid lane, roll the barrel under the brush and see whether Shook was in there, but Shook was not. Shook is actually coming from the other side of the map, though. This could be a play for First Blood if he can get into the lane. Jizuki already low.
Oh, Ignite already spent, forces that flash, and now the Spider was skittering forward. Jizuki knew there was no hope for him, so he has to spend one summoner to combat the other.
That's exactly what we needed to see out of Shook, though. Gets into the lane, gets the summoner down from Jizuki, and now look, long cooldown where Victor has to play in a lane that he's going to get pushed in against a Lucian who can trade heavily for him. This is the matchup style that we wanted to see out of NIP, something where Nagne can take control early and say, no, I win this lane, I will take control, whereas Jizuki has to sacrifice a lot of time now in order to stay safe.
Oh, Shook is waiting to see if he can get the play off. It looks like we're in for a level 4 dive. No, the cocoon does not connect. He's going to walk the long way around.
Shook's like, don't mind me. Don't mind me. Spider just coming through.
It just keeps on going, and that's when you want to smush it. But he's like, no, it's cool. I'm good.
Yeah, he's getting his way out of the house. Always try and get the Spider safely out of the house, like in a glass with some card under.
I mean, I live on the 4th floor, so like if I let him out, he just falls. I can't really do that.
Yeah, that's kind of bad. That's not good. But still, you got to try and be humane about it, Pyra.
I tried. Nothing humane about that one, though. Shook was trying to go for the kill onto Ruin, and he knew it. Mini Troop Axe and Jack Troll holding once again on the bottom side. So, despite the fact that it's all about the late game for Giants, this matchup for the time being will definitely go their way. But for NIP, you know, it is early game. That is the way we've seen them get leads quite a lot. But it's a race against the clock. You're 2 games down against Giants. You double down on this early game pressure. When is that timer going to run out? Obviously, there's a lot of time to work with. I'm just wondering.
There's a lot of time to work on this one. I think the difficult aspect of this game is there's a lot of theory about how NIP will be ahead for the majority of the early game, and there is, in some respect, a timer on that with Giants being good in the late game, and that's kind of what you're talking about. But for me, Giants, if they get a lead like they have in the last 2 games, will already be so catastrophically far ahead with composition. If this comp that should be from behind actually gets ahead, NIP have very few options to get back into the game.
Yeah, that's the control, and you can see that's why they're racing for it. So, of course, Shook has the Moby boots all ready to kick things off, and we'll see if he starts going a roving a little bit faster. You can see how much more movement speed he's going to be able to get. Now, with the control ward down on the other side of the jungle, he spotted out Gilius as he's on his own wolf camp. 1 lane pushed in the mid, that's the Lucian, so the gank opportunity may not come there for a while. You still got to keep all eyes on Shook and see where he ends up going.
Doesn't matter necessarily about the gank opportunity so much in the sense that, look, the CS advantage for Nagne is exactly what he wants. He can just keep pushing in the middle lane, try and get tower damage down. They've spotted the Gragas, so they know there's no kill threat or gank threat. And Nagne has his flash, has the dash as well, so it's a lot about getting damage down onto that tower at the same time. And now that they're post level 6, it means Nagne can trade his ult onto Jizuki for damage, maybe even ult for ult on the tower push game, try and just push the wave back as far as possible.
All right, so I got an update for you, Stress. The race has been forfeited by Jack Troll. He's gone for the side stone.
It wasn't much of a race. Really, when you don't indicate that you're going straight to Ardent Sensor, you basically lose that race. And it's something that Lulu is less prone to do, less prone to get Ardent Sensor right at the beginning of the game. We have seen a couple of different schools of thought on that. Whereas Janna is just like, I get like 4,000 gold worth of stats when I buy this item for my AD carry, so of course I'm going to rush it.
Yeah. Very, very useful on the side, especially for that Janna. But of course, Lulu wanted a little bit later on. Nagne on his level 7 has a culling popped straight into the wave, and Jizuke's not quite there because he's occupied by trying to get this blue buff.
And this is a pretty significant blue buff to take away here. This is the one where Victor should normally be picking it up, and it will assist him in wave clear. You can see Shook doesn't want to wait for Nagne because Nagne was backing away. Nagne would rather have the itemization, whereas he wants to head towards Prophet in the top lane.
Need to bait out Ruin here.
Yeah. They know Shook is up here. There was a vision, there was a ward, I believe, that spotted, or at least a ping went down onto Shook to say he was likely topside.
Gilius is coming. This could be the double bait. All right, tack sweep. Ruin hits 7. Ult is available, and is he going to use it? Yes, right on top. But Gilius coming out of the woodwork, and they turn their attention. Jarvan jumps the pit, and Gilius and Ruin caught up, and now Shook, he can't skitter away in time. It's first blood for Ruin, and it looks like it's going to be more Prophet forced to flash and slash, and he can't find the kill. Gilius playing bodyguard.
Here comes Nagne.
Maybe he's going to be able to do it. I'm not so sure. In comes Nagne, the double tap. It's not quite enough until the final shot. Equalizing on the kills.
Oh, Giants taking the advantageous trade in the beginning of it, knowing that Shook was coming up to the lane. They were able to prioritize Shook as the primary target. Squishy doesn't have any defensive stats, so jump onto him. Good roam out by Nagne, though, knowing they could get up to the top side in time. It did allow Jizuki to get a little bit of farm, but look, Nagne picked up a kill. That's exactly what they wanted. Look at how Giants turn on Shook immediately. Gilius goes right on with a body slam flash. In came the Cataclysm Ruin. Beautiful EQ flash combo. What that does is extends the knock-up to wherever Jarvan lands. It's a very specific pixel-perfect mechanic, but one that we see a lot of Jarvan players utilizing. Body slam to deny Prophet. Wasn't quite enough to pick up the kill there, but Giants take a 1-for-1 with the first blood up on the top side.
Excellently played now, and Ruin's going to have a little bit more optimism as he was able to get the 2v2 played away, and Nagne, even though he had the wave shove, was able to go up to the top side. Still just the equalizer was all they found.
Here's the culling.
There is going to be the culling. Popped out. He has to burn his flash, and Chaos Storm was on, narrowly avoided the gravity field, but Jizuke, importantly, once again, the flash had been back up. He comes back out of it alive.
Yeah, now it's going to be even more difficult for Jizuki because people are more active around the mid lane. He has to be careful for Prophet roaming. There's a teleport available.
He's not backing.
Yeah, he's not backing because he needs to save the wave for now. And that's why Gilius walks into the lane for him. You can see Ruin on his way down too.
Yeah, it looks like both junglers pretty much keeping tabs on each other constantly. Nagne dashes forward, but unfortunately doesn't find any more shots.
Yeah, Nagne dashes forward because he knows Jizuki is recalling, and it would have been a 3 versus 2. Prophet had roamed down as well. We haven't really checked into this bottom lane matchup too much. Minitroopax misses the combo and is down 12 CS currently in this matchup.
Minitroopax maybe having a little bit more trouble. However, it's worth remembering the Giants, very contrary to the last couple of games, have built a comp specifically for making that late game happen. And NIP,
right,
you know, they have a gold lead, but it's slim. It's built primarily off farming. They didn't even get the first blood.
Yeah, and that's where Giants, with this composition that they've built, will have the emphasis in the late game, especially the Lulu on top of it. Like, Lulu can bully people around in a laning phase, can push out, but look, Minitroopax and Jack Troll know their strongest point is going to be later on in the game. That's when they'll have a big advantage over this Kalista and Janna. And remember, Minitroopax played the Caitlyn in the first game. 5 items, just destroyed everybody.
Slowly, too. That's the thing. He just consistently sending shots flying. And Giants have played this very patiently. It's kind of weird to think about when you talk about a 25-minute game that just happened prior to this one, but Giants have been the patient team, waiting for NIP to make mistakes. It happened once again up in the top side. Yes, Nagne was able to find an answering kill, but at no point in this entire series has it appeared that Giants didn't have at least some level of control.
But this is a better game for NIP. And to put the focus on NIP, they gave Nagne a matchup that actually works better for him. He is succeeding in this. But they have to continue to play a little bit around him. He can create leads. He can open up some areas of the map. But look, now that Victor is past that first upgrade on the Hex Core, he's also got Ninja Tabi to defend against some of the trades. It means Nagne can't push through that mid lane solo. He needs additional help.
We'll see if he ends up getting it. Shook made a couple of appearances in this mid lane, but lately, wherever he has been, Gilius has not been far behind. As he moves his way into the NIP jungle, a little wary that there might be a spider lurking in the brushes, but he should be worried about what's happening down a little bit further south, as Shook is actually going to mirror him.
I think the most interesting thing is the fact that in this series, Gilius has basically been following Shook around the jungle, but has also been farming, out-farming Shook. In every game now, like game 1, there was a notable CS lead. Game 3, there's a notable CS lead. Again, for Gilius, it accounts for a few hundred gold, which is quite a sizable lead, considering we anticipated Shook would be having a bigger impact. Now, of course, there's an assist in there as well for Gilius, and it's not just the farm that comes through, but Gilius, a guy that's been out of the LCS for a while, actually showing up quite big over the last split.
Making a statement that he can be back in that LCS quite easily. Jizuki is stuck in the 1v2, and there's nowhere for him to go. The Chaos Storm stops short as Shook comes up with 1 kill. So now he's going to have a little bit more of that gold in his pocket.
This time, Gilius wasn't there. He was a little way away from the lane. Shook ending up getting into the lane. No flash was available for Jizuki. Tried to exhaust his way through it, but this is the matchup that we said NIP want to win through, and they're trying to do that even more so now. Okay, Nagne should be able to finally get damage down onto the tower. Shook is holding Gilius back. Nobody is there to defend yet, but NIP actually released the pressure. They don't continue this.
And it looks like we might be in for a couple of one-on-ones. Ruin debating if he can take out Prophet. Flashes on both sides of the aisle here.
That's actually a weird sequence of play. Unless I'm missing something, they had Vision top side, they had Vision bot side, Jizuki was still dead, and Shook at least was holding Gilius. They knew Nagne was still mid, so Shook and Nagne can 2v1 Gilius and try and get some damage down onto the tower. One of the things you do with Lucian is get the push onto the tower, take a third of its health off and say, okay, now I recall. I can understand, though, if Nagne's focus is on the next passage of play. He says, okay, I'm going to recall, get a Blade of the Ruined King and look to push in a couple of minutes' time.
Oh boy, Jack Troll, he's going to have to wild growth himself here. Hiku finding an opening, but he pulls the Ren stacks out perhaps a little earlier than he would have been able to get the kill. Mini Truepax gets the heal, so Jack Troll costs his AD carry a summoner spell, and this might open up a chance for NIP to start pushing in a little farther on the bottom lane, the more neutral of the 3 lanes.
And NIP do kind of need quite a quick pace to this game, because look, Ninja Tabi is starting to roll in. Camille was drafted as the final pick. That's not exactly any other additional AP that comes through there, so they're relying basically on Elise to deal some sense of magic damage. This is the pace they need, though. The push on the bottom lane, they can get a tower very low. They'll try and do the same on mid lane. And they're trying to catch Giants before the armor completes itself.
Yeah, it's a tough task, though. Giants, once again, not presenting a whole lot of opportunities for NIP to punish. A handful at best.
Full man dive on the bottom lane.
Shook. Yeah, 3v4. I don't know how these odds are going to work out, but Jizuke is coming to try and save this one. However, it looks like once again NIP will be able to find the first turret in the game. Let's hope for them it's not prophetic of anything else to come about, because it hasn't won them any games so far.
Well, whether it's about prophecy or prophets at this point, Prophet in the top lane is going to be one of the players they need to play around at the same time. So bottom lane is now being won.
His net worth is lower than Ruins.
I know. His investments are in Ruins.
I mean, I guess he's invested in trying to kill Ruin, but that is another story. Ruin, though, on this Jarvan has actually been able to do what we saw him do in the Wind and Rain series, but with impunity. He's been able to push up a little harder. Prophet just hasn't been able to really answer him, and you can see that, you know, there's pretty much an entire item difference here with the Tiamat versus the Tiamat and the Phage versus just the Phage.
Yeah, and both of them actually have about between 13 and 1,500 gold right now on their person, so when they end up recalling, that'll be the difference.
That's why it sucks for Prophet. He didn't put the money in the bank.
Not yet. He hasn't banked it yet. So for NIP, they make the play on bottom side. Giants backed away knowing that they didn't want to end up getting dove. The next step for them is a little trickier. They need to somehow get top lane tower. They need to then put focus towards mid lane. Rift Herald might be a key component of breaking through this Victor, because Victor has done a good job now since the upgrades on the Hex core of just pushing Lucian back, constantly just making sure the wave is pushed away from them. I wouldn't even be surprised to see Jizuki just ult the wave like we see Oriana's do, just to say, hey, okay, I'm just going to push this back. We're not going to skirmish anytime soon, and my ult cooldown is low enough.
Yeah, and he's got enough damage to be able to do it, and Nagne has to respect. But, you know, to point back to what you said earlier, that NIP really needs to start playing around Nagne. We've seen a handful of appearances by Shook. Yep. One of them resulted in that kill, but is it troubling that at this point they've not been able to knock down the tower with the fact that Nagne does have a winning matchup finally?
I wouldn't say troubling. Victor is pretty good at denying that. I think if we flash forward 5 minutes in the game and it's still standing, or 10 minutes in the game, then we're getting to the point where, like, okay, NIP really needed this tower down earlier on. I think the next sequence of plays will likely result in an attempt for that mid tower, but right now it's bottom lane they're going. Fate's Call has been cast, double knockout.
Oh yeah, there's a teleport coming in, but this might be too late. Mini Truepax is gonna get fired down by EQ, pulling the Ren stacks out. Jack Troll's caught. And the bottom lane of Giants, once again, proves cannon fodder.
Yeah, good timing, though, on this. Ardent Sensor was completed by Sprattel. They had the Blade of the Ruined King. Prophet had the time to teleport down to the bottom lane and get himself into the mix here. That was exactly what NIP needed to put the game in their favor. Remember, we said NIP need to be in the lead. Giants are playing for the late game. NIP need to continue the objective game going in their favor and try and crack as much as they can. Now, this is just Jack Troll and Mini Trupax without a tower there, pushing up. And look, Prophet was already in the lane for this fight before it even engaged. NIP had made the call, and Giants couldn't survive through it.
Yeah, unfortunately, this time, once again, the bottom lane just seeming to be the ones making the mistakes. We hadn't
on the top
seen
side.
That. Now here comes Gilius looking for Sprattel. He's going to be able to complete the channel. Sprattel has a shield. Don't know if it's going to be enough here. Heku coming in, ace in the hole. That's going to be it.
Yeah, it actually connected on the body slam there. Sprattel couldn't quite get the Q out in time, but look, the dodge away from the barrel was the important thing for Sprattel to keep himself alive. Still, Jack Troll and Mini Trupax weren't there in time to actually pick up the kill, and NIP get out with their lives. So for now, NIP continuing to be ahead. You can see Prophet poised around the mid lane, has to be careful because Javan's actually going to go in on, nearly caught Prophet.
Very, very close. Was the gravity field thrown down. Now Prophet's going to be able to get away, clear some things. You can see what Giants have done, though. As they've pulled back, they've kept all of their vision inside their own jungle, with the exception of the Rift Herald, where that's at. So they're not going to really give up a whole lot of control at the moment, unless NIP meets them in the open field. I suppose we'll see, and maybe this is the game that NIP finally get that Rift Herald.
Maybe this is a game where they do, but Pyra,
Stress.
We're looking at Shook, and then we can look at his items.
Ah.
And we can see a Dark Seal with 5 stacks on it. And a Haunting, guys. Now, that's not too out of the ordinary.
But Shook is the guy that builds Medjai's.
Yeah, he is. And the reason for it in this scenario is he is the only source of AP damage. So Shook's like, okay, guys, I'm going to carry. I've got this. Solo queue, full AP. Elise is going to be great.
Yep. Who says I'm a cocoon bot?
This is basically doubling down on Shook, saying, okay, we have no front line. If we get late game, I die, you die, we all die. The hopes of LCS this week. At least getting one step forward, die.
This is adaptation from NIP. You know, they've realized that Prophet's not going to be able to carry on this one. All right, Shook, you're up.
Yeah, that's a worrying...
You could say trend, it's okay.
Different tactic here. So I think it's worth putting into perspective again what this game actually means. Because for NIP, they have to win this game to stay in this best-of-5 series. They have to reverse sweep if they want to get past Giants at this point. For Giants, a win here puts them into the winner's bracket of the double elimination promotion tournament. That means this win doesn't put them in the LCS, but a win next week, if they were to face Schalke, would put them in the LCS.
And it's worth noting that, you know, the only team that Giants lost to was Schalke.
Yeah.
And so far, that is hanging true right now as Prophet goes in onto Rain. Inside the cage he goes, but how about this for a cage match? Ruin says, get in here. Oh, never mind, I don't want this one. Hookshot flashing away. Gilius tags in 2-on-1. That ain't fair.
Not fair on that one. Just put as many cages as you can. Believe it or not, Devin, there was a type of match with multiple cages.
I believe it. You're going to tell me exactly what it is.
War Games. It was great. There were 3 cages. Everything was brilliant. We need one more cage. Maybe it's the gravity field from Chizuki that'll line up as a Venn diagram in this setting. But look, I don't think we're going to get there because NIP are actually just doing a good job of snowballing this game forward. They're getting more towers. They still have the option to crack that mid tower at one point, but Baron is the thing that is now available. It's not the Rift Herald anymore.
Yeah, Sprattel just standing there. I got scared for a second. I'm like, wait, he's got a Callista.
He's okay. Didn't even need to flash.
And he knew. All right, so now that the dust has settled a little bit, NIP, there's still a pretty solid gold lead for them. It's 2 towers, of course, 2-0 with the 4 kills that they have, and that's all contributing to that 5,000 or just below gold lead. Giants struggling to try and respond. They have been able to push back NIP for the time being, but it's still the NIP full swing all around this map. Vision being controlled. The Baron pit pretty much lit up like a Christmas tree. But Giants do have some of that vision themselves.
They do. Giants have good control, at least around the entrances to the Baron area, but so do NIP. Look, control wards on the catwalks. Both teams have vision at this point, and we're still playing a waiting game for Giants to get back into it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to take a little bit more time if they are going to be able to stall this one out. But it is worth calling back to other performances we've seen. Mini Trupax on this comfortable Caitlyn pick. When he had 3 items in game number 1, well, he's 2 of the 3 items that he needs to be to make that happen. He was just mowing down people on this Caitlyn. Jizuke's still going to be able to hold waves, and Ruin's had a pretty good performance. Now we'll see if Gilius is able to hang on as well as the Wild Growth comes out, and what was that burst damage? Jizuke looking for more. The Monsoon comes in, but it was a short-lived one. And now Giants fighting the chase, and Shook, he has the heal, or he has the shield, I should say. Giants turn that fight in their favor, but nobody's dead just yet. Shook out of the action.
Giants have been very quick to look for a Baron off plays like this if it had resulted in kills, but look, Prophet snuck in through the side, took that mid tower that we've been talking about for a long time, and as long as NIP don't lose anybody here and don't all recall at the same time, Giants shouldn't have too many more options in order to win at least this sequence of the game, which would keep NIP in the lead. Remember, Janna can shield the tower, but they go
once more looking for Heat.
They got Heat.
It's Ruin who gets the final shot on the Dragon Strike, and now they're turning right back to the mid-tier 1. Giants looking to try and swim this
Giants
game in their favor. The Baron Pit is calling, Stress, at 24 minutes. Shook is going to need to hustle to get into this one.
But
down on the bottom.
Prophet is trying to just push through as well. Shook is going to get there in time to be able to look for a steal. This could be the overstay from Giants. They're going to back away. They're actually not fully committing. I say that as they go back to the Baron. A little bit of a miscommunication, or at least split communication.
Oh, Mini Trupax getting low, but they turn it on Shook. There's no more smite available, and now Prophet's going to be able to fire down the final shot out of the AD carry of Giants, and the rest are falling. Gilly is trying to run for his life. Nagne with the double kill. Prophet looking for a third on the tack sweep, and he gets 2. And NIP have no smite, but have no worries.
NIP ace Giants for the first time in this series. 25 minutes into game 3. NIP finally building themselves into a game. They have a significant lead right now. Going to be over 8,000 gold at the point that this Baron falls, and NIP are in such a commanding position in this game.
Add a little bit more onto that Baron power play, and we'll have to start recalibrating our scouter Stress. NIP at 25 minutes. What a massive lead and difference this game has been.
Giants, they got the pick, remember, onto Hikyu to start this off. Prophet had pushed the bottom lane so far that he actually got the tower before appearing, and then Giants, they're still waiting for this composition to come online. Shook lands the cocoon. Mini Trupax drops low enough off the damage that Shook can provide. The Prophet just jumps on him with the ultimatum and is able to just take him out. From there, Giants have no further damage, and NIP just walk through the fight. Now they have the Baron buff.
Yep, NIP, they turn it around once more. So, the reverse sweep dream is still alive for NIP, but it will be a long and hard climb, and they need to put this game away before that has any chance of happening.
I hope at Mayhem_43 you have not just jinxed this.
No, only casters can apply the caster curse.
But
I guess I just said it, so.
You did just say it now, okay.
Does it count second hand?
I guess. NIP at this point have enough to close the game with the Baron buff. Look, Nagne can push up on the top side, but remember, he's not running teleport. Prophet doesn't have his teleport on the bottom side, and when we were in a situation like this in previous games, Giants, remember, they made a mistake, got caught out, and slowed the game. Giants have a very good late game team fighting team, but they are not quite there yet. 2 items only on the Caitlyn, 2 items on the Victor. They need at least another item on top of this to get to the point we're talking about.
Clock is ticking, but NIP find themselves in a comfortable position for the time being, and I have to eat my words from earlier. Prophet, now that he's got some kills under his belt, he is giving Ruin so much trouble as this base is going to be broken open with the empowered auto attack. Precision protocol indeed. Ruin at half of his health bar right now. It's a level advantage still in favor of Prophet, and there's no response here for Giants. This inhibitor looks like it's going to be free.
Yeah, Ruin just cannot trade against him. Giants slow to react towards the bottom lane here. Jizuki on a Victor can't clear Baron minions fast enough. He can clear the back line, but the front line, remember the increased resistance to magic at that point. Now Jizuki tries to trade against Nagne.
One-on-one with the calling!
He just loses it.
Oh! Nagne, 4-0-4, and Jizuke is not found, and neither is that tower in the middle as Giants losing on every lane of this game. Baron still live for a minute, and it's desperation for Giants to try and hang on to this one.
We questioned whether NIP could accelerate the game fast enough, and Prophet was one of the key components to it. He snuck into the mid lane, took that mid lane tower down, took the bot lane tower down, now has the bot inhibitor for himself, and throughout the rest of this Baron buff, just under a minute left, NIP can get a second, potentially even a third inhibitor in their favor before recalling out.
Should be able to open up even more on this base. So with not a whole lot, Giants have to wave goodbye to all of their towers here. Nogne is still pushing with 30 seconds left on this Baron buff. Giants last-ditch effort to try and make a play, but Prophet is hookshotted out.
NIP in a great position to start coming back into this series. All they have to do is avoid any fights from Giants, avoid that all-in engage from Ruin, where Jizuki hits them with a big disco ball to win the fight on the ultimate of that Chaos Storm.
One party you don't want to be invited to.
Exactly. Giants were looking to set up a party for themselves tonight after a 3-0. That was how this series was building. It looked like Giants had NIP figured out. They had the mid lane matchup for themselves, but the all-important side selection for NIP. First of all, they get the Lucian for themselves in phase 1 of the draft. Then they get the good matchup on the top side for Prophet, that they know he can win the side lane the later the game goes. And that has been one of the key components to NIP coming back in Game 3.
Yeah, and in the early game, too, there were definitely a few Giants mistakes that allowed some of these things, but it's not to take away from how well NIP have been able to perform to try and close this one out now. They just need to march down through the lines, get a catch on wherever they can. Prophet's hiding on top of a ward that he sees. That's like an ultimate.
He's going back.
I thought he was just mind gaming, like, I don't even need to clear this. No, I just didn't see it.
I wonder whether that was his team being like, "Yo, you're on a controller."
All right, ace in the hole. Nogne shrugs it off. Jizuki is still going to be able to clear some waves, but it looks like the hammer is coming down here inside the Giants' base. NIP to stay alive in this series to try and keep their hopes of reverse sweeping their way into the winner's match.
Baron has expired, but it's a 14,000 gold lead, and that is normally way more than a team needs to close this out. Giants still need even more time. 3 items on Caitlyn is nice, but without being defended by the front line and more damage coming out from Jizuki, Mini Trupax won't be enough on his own to hold this game.
All the Giants standing 5 firm round their last inhibitor. And I can look to try and close this one up.
Caitlyn trap line, just enough to maintain the mid lane from being pushed in.
It doesn't matter if they're closing around the sides.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem, is you've got a whole lot of other leakages in the base. Prophet now wanting to jump onto Mini Trupax.
Looks for it, but he's not able to find the ultimate out. Now Nogne, there's the Chaos Storm 1v1ing on Jizuki on the other side of this one, and it looks like he's going to not come out.
This is going wrong.
Is he shut down? All of a sudden, NIP, they lose one, and they get cold feet on this fight here. Gillia's taking a lot of damage. He goes forward for the flash, the dash, but they're going to pull him back in. The pit comes down. EQ picks up Gillia's. It's a last desperate fight to the finishes. Jizuki comes in for the burst, deletes Prophet off the map, but Shook and the rest of NIP still have damage in the tank. The Ren stacks are coming out, and NIP find the fight at the very end of it all. 31 minutes into this one, and there is not a whole lot of chance to contest. Giants wanted that 3-0, but they have fee-fi-fo fumbled this one, and the NIP are throwing down a smokescreen to try and take this game.
Yeah, NIP looking to just walk through 3 waves of minions. Jizuki, ooh, just survives through.
Oh, he's got to get back to Fountain. Hell fast right now. This is going to be incredibly close to try and hang on, but it doesn't matter. Hikyu with all the damage in the world. 31.5 minutes, Shook gets a shutdown, and that is lights out. NIP are staying alive.
An important game win to keep them in the series for NIP, and NIP draft for the earlier gameplay. They are able to build around Nogne. This series was being dictated by Jizuki and the Giants in games 1 and 2. Game 3, suddenly NIP get the draft in their favor, give the good matchup, and Giants buy into a scaling game with a Victor, with a Caitlyn, champions that have basically got that big lull towards the mid-game where they don't output as much damage as the likes of Illusion, as a Callista, and NIP say, okay, we'll just take a bunch of towers. Prophet, instrumental in this win, getting the mid tower, getting the bot tower, and Giants committing to the Baron. Was that the one mistake that NIP were able to turn back around? very similar to game 1 when the shoe was on the opposite foot.
Yeah, seems like we've seen quite a lot of a blue side base today. And NIP staying alive have to be a relieving thing to see that all happen, and overwhelming in the early game to close it out 31 minutes later on the clock. But for Giants, they varied a little bit, maybe experimented more than they needed to. We'll see if they go back to trying for a little bit more of a balanced composition in game 4.
I feel like Giants will just look for the lanes for themselves. Is Giants with the side selection in game 4. They'll just go, okay, we'll pick a winning top, we'll pick a winning mid, we'll take matchups that we can do, and hopefully we'll be right back to it. Of course, game 4 is not something Giants were expecting to be in a position to play after game 2. So now you have to go into the mental aspect of this. Giants now have to settle themselves. A lot of the time, they were always playing from ahead, and that is no longer the case, at least from game 3. They may be broken on that. We'll see how their draft plays out as we go later, but NIP looking a lot better in game 3. That's the NIP we wanted to see.
Yeah, and that's it's not just a glimmer of it. It's what we saw against Fnatic, being able to do a lot and just at all stages of the game, continually forcing the fights, getting the plays. I love that Shook felt like he could go all in on the damage, because that's what they needed, and it worked.
Yeah, didn't get to the point where that front line was all that important. We want to take a look at the turning point of the game. At this point, this is where Giants attempt the Baron. They just had a pick on Hikyu, remember, and they're looking to make the play. Prophet has already got that mid tower and now joins the fight. And this is one of the drawbacks of mini Trupax on this Caitlyn. It's why Prophet has this Camille, is you get onto the Caitlyn, the Lulu was already dead, couldn't keep Caitlyn alive, and from there they just walk right through the rest of the fight. As NIP ended up going back towards the Baron after the first ace they finally scored against Giants.
Yeah, that was where Prophet picked up all 3 of those kills that he then used to pretty much shove in the rest of Giants down in the bottom. And, you know, give him some serious credit. There's a reason they picked it for him. He was able to shine on it. And we haven't really seen him play this Camille in the summer split at all. So the fact that he just pulls this out as maybe not necessarily a counter matchup, but as something that's going to scale better on the side lanes. I mean, NIP, it looks like they've been holding out on us.
That's the thing, is I feel like Ruin has had a lot of these champions that he hasn't had the opportunity to play or hasn't needed to play. He's a player that we've seen a lot of diversity from. And Camille, I had to expect, was in his wheelhouse as a champion pick, but it is nice to see it come out and be so effective. I think NIP can look to draft like this possibly in subsequent games. Maybe not first picking the Kalista, but that would then leave it available for Giants. But NIP, this seems to suit them a lot better when they can play around Nagne being the proactive player in the lane rather than being in a losing matchup where he can't create pressure.
Yeah, and we spent a lot of the series setting up a lot of talk about mini Trupax especially and comparing him to Hikyu, but I feel like the series has really been all about the mid laners and to some extent the top. That matchup, Nagne really got to shine, really got to continually shove things in, and he got more attention from Shook, I think, than he got in the first couple games.
Yeah.
And it really made the difference.
He did. And to speak about mini Trupax, who you mentioned in the middle there, he had such a difficult time because Camille, every single fight was like, okay, I'm just gonna cage you in, and
then everyone else is out. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, you know all about the cage matches for sure. Now, NIP, they take an impressive game off of Giants to stay alive in the series. Find out if this is the start of the reverse sweep after the break. You won't want to miss game